Hello, beautiful friends. Welcome back to 365 Days of Love and Miracles with A Course in Miracles. My name is Arlene Geres, and I am so glad that you are here. Please remember to listen right until the very end, because we have a special treat for you. And if you enjoyed today's video, please click like and subscribe down below, because this helps others to find us on YouTube. Today's lesson is lesson number 297. Before we read today's lesson, we are asked to read the section, What is the Real World? So let's do that now. The real world is a symbol, like the rest, of what perception offers, yet it stands for what is opposite to what you made. Your world is seen through eyes of fear and brings the witnesses of terror to your mind. The real world cannot be perceived except through eyes forgiveness blesses, so they see a world where terror is impossible and witnesses to fear cannot be found. The real world holds a counterpart for each unhappy thought reflected in your world, a sure correction for the sights of fear and sounds of battle which your world contains. The real world shows a world seen differently through quiet eyes and with a mind at peace. Nothing but rest is there. There are no cries of pain and sorrow heard, for nothing there remains outside forgiveness. And the sights are gentle. Only happy sights and sounds can reach the mind that has forgiven itself. What need has such a mind for thoughts of death, attack, and murder? What can it perceive surrounding it but safety, love, and joy? What is there it would choose to be condemned, and what is there that it would judge against? The world it sees arises from a mind at peace within itself. No danger lurks in anything it sees, for it's kind, and only kindness does it look upon. The real world is the symbol that the dream of sin and guilt is over, and God's Son no longer sleeps. His waking eyes perceive the sure reflection of his Father's love, the certain promise that he is redeemed. The real world signifies the end of time, for its perception makes time purposeless. The Holy Spirit has no need of time when it has served his purpose. Now he waits but that one instant more for God to take his final step, and time has disappeared, taking perception with it as it goes, and leaving but the truth to be itself. That instant is our goal. That instant is our goal, for it contains the memory of God, and as we look upon a world forgiven, it is he who calls to us and comes to take us home, reminding us of our identity, which our forgiveness has restored to us. Let's talk about paragraph 4. We come into this world with, in effect, blinders on. We have no idea that the world that we think we see is not real. It's like it just seems to be how it works. We come into the world and we have completely forgotten the world of spirit. And yet there's always this yearning deep inside of every single one of us to know that place. We know that something is missing here. We know that there's something much greater, but we just don't know how to reach it. Thank goodness that we have discovered A Course in Miracles. This is our roadmap. This is our guide that shows us how to reach the real world. And remember, the real world is a bridge that is going to take us into heaven, which is a whole other reality. Did you ever consider, before you started on a spiritual journey, that this world that we see all around us is not real? I sure didn't consider that. And even now sometimes, especially when I'm surrounded by all of this beauty, these palm trees and the sea and the beautiful blue skies that we have almost all of the time. And this beauty absolutely captivates me. But in fact, A Course in Miracles tells us that we are all having the same dream. And this world that we see with our physical eyes is actually an illusion. In paragraph 4, it tells us that the real world is just a symbol. Let's talk about what a symbol is. We know that when we write down a mathematical equation like 2 plus 2 equals 4, that's a symbol. When we look at those numbers on a page, that's just a symbol for 2 things and then 2 more things and eventually 4 more things. But it just represents those things. It's not the actual things. In the same way, my name, Arlene, if you see that written down somewhere, or if you even speak it or think it, that is not me. In fact, I am not even this body. But the symbol, Arlene, is just a representation of who I am. Here it says that the real world is the symbol that the dream of sin and guilt is over and God's child no longer sleeps. We're not asleep anymore. We have woken up through our spiritual walk, whether it be through A Course in Miracles or by some other way. This is what one of many ways the Course has told us. But we are no longer sleeping. We are awake to a very different reality. And this world that we see right here, right now, as beautiful as it is not the real world. The real world is a step between our earthly home, what we see here, and heaven. And we are in transition here, folks. We are on our way to being able to see with true heavenly eyes. So what is the real world a symbol for? We're told in paragraph 1 that it stands for the opposite of what you and I have made. What have we made? We have made the world of fear. And that fear includes guilt and shame and sorrow and pain and loss and judgment and hate and war and all of the things that go on in this world. The real world is the opposite of all of that. The opposite of the world that we lived in before we discovered a spiritual path is the world of love. That is what the real world is but a symbol for. Let's remember, the real world is not actually the world of love. It's just a symbol for it. I know sometimes it's a real mind bender, but it's so worth it to try and grapple with these ideas. And slowly but slowly, we come to a more solid understanding of them. So the real world is a symbol for all that love is: joy, peace, harmony, oneness with all of creation, truth. The whole purpose of the Course is to help us learn to see differently. So here we are at an actual section of 10 lessons that tells us that the real world is helping us to see through God's eyes, or through the eyes of the Holy Spirit. The last 2 lessons have talked all about that. Lesson 295, the Holy Spirit looks through me today. And then lesson 296, the Holy Spirit speaks through me today. So bit by bit, we're moving away from the world of fear, the world of the ego, and slowly but slowly, we're making our way to the world of God, or the world of love. The real world is but a symbol for where we are going, and what a beautiful journey it is. But bit by bit, every single one of us is getting there, and we're going there hand in hand, you and I, brothers and sisters, bit by bit, as our waking eyes perceive the sure reflection of our Father's love, the certain promise that we are redeemed. The real world signifies or represents or is a symbol for the end of time, for its perception makes time purposeless. There is no time in God's world. Every single second is all that there is. There is no past and there is no future. Let's take a look at today's lesson. Forgiveness is the only gift I give. Forgiveness is talked about over and over again throughout the Course. Just in this review section, we've talked about it in lesson 291. Let my forgiveness be complete, and let the memory of you, God, return to me. In lesson 293, all the world shines in reflection of its holy light, and I perceive a world forgiven at last. In Lesson 295, help me to use the eyes of Christ today, and thus allow the Holy Spirit to bless all things which I may look upon, that His forgiving love may rest on me, His forgiving love. And today's lesson starts with the word forgiveness. Forgiveness is the only gift I give. Let's read the lesson. Forgiveness is the only gift I give, because it is the only gift I want. And everything I give myself. This is salvation's simple formula, and I who would be saved would make it mine to be the way I live within a world that needs salvation, and that will be saved as I accept atonement for myself. There's a lot in this little piece. Let's talk about it. Forgiveness is the only gift I give because it is the only gift I want. Let's think about this for a minute. Who doesn't want forgiveness? I certainly do. I think about all the people that might be holding grudges against me, and I certainly want their forgiveness. Think about all the people who might be holding a grudge against you. Think about all of the wars, all of the terrorism, all of the political unrest. This all comes from people holding grudges. When I give forgiveness, I don't only give it to you, I give it to me. It's the only gift I want. It says in this lesson, everything I give myself. Everything. That's amazing. When I give you love, I'm giving myself love. When I give you peace, I give myself peace. When I bless you, I bless myself. When I forgive you, I am forgiving myself. Now let's go back and think of anyone who you think might be holding a grudge against you. Have you forgiven them? This lesson tells us that when we forgive them, then we receive forgiveness for ourselves. I know for sure that there are some people who, in spite of my best efforts to make amends, have not forgiven me. And that is a very painful thing to experience. I think that's true for many people. It's been a real process for me to understand that I have to start with first forgiving them. What do I forgive them for? I forgive them for holding a grudge. I forgive them for not giving me grace. I want grace more than anything. But the real question is, am I willing to give them grace? Am I willing to forgive them? This whole course is not about changing someone else's mind. It's about changing our own minds. So when I forgive you, I receive forgiveness for myself. I cannot hurt you without hurting me. And I certainly can't love you without loving myself. This is salvation's simple formula. It's that simple, not easy, but it is a simple formula. And I who would be saved would make it mine. I want to receive that priceless gift of being at one with God and all of creation. I want it more than anything in the world, so I am willing to do this. I am willing to practice forgiveness on a daily basis. And that will be saved as I accept atonement for myself. I accept the atonement. I accept that I am part of God and all creation. If you would like to close your eyes, I'll read the closing prayer. Father, how certain are your ways, how sure their final outcome, and how faithfully is every step in my salvation set already and accomplished by your grace. Thanks be to you for your eternal gifts, and thanks to you for my identity. My identity is I am God's beloved child, and so are you. This lesson is really talking about grace. Grace is the secret to happy relationships. Whether we're talking about our love partners, we're talking about our neighbors, we're talking about our children, we're talking about our families. It's all the same thing. We want grace. If we want grace, we need to extend it. And it's incredible how this comes back to us. The way we look at the world is reflected back to us. So let's give everyone grace. And the second lesson in today is, who do you want forgiveness from? Who do you think might be holding a grudge towards you? Forgive them, and you will also receive the priceless gift of forgiveness. You will feel it in your soul. You'll feel it in your spirit. Thanks so much for listening right until the end, my friends. If you enjoyed today's video, please share the love, tell others about these videos, encourage them to start at lesson 1 and only do 1 lesson a day. Are you ready for our special treat? This is the diver in Bucerias. And here is a plaque. El Buzo means diver. I've just checked that out with this nice man. El Buzo? El Buzo? Diver. Sí. Muchas gracias. Que tenga buen día. Adios. Forgiveness is the only gift I give. Have a day of giving and receiving forgiveness. I love you.